Go. Oh, it's only
It says
17
chapter 18
slides.
because it's a typo.
Yeah, it's. Oh, we're on. It's only 17 slides. Let's hope we can finish this. Ooh, in
So it
7
shouldn't be too
minutes.
long. Okay. So let me know when I can start.
Start. You what? Please make it fast. I need water, so I'm gonna come back. I'll probably watch this video.
Yeah, you can like mute yourself instead.
Yeah. I'm just watch this video later.
Yeah. So this is gonna be chapter 20, not 18. Chapter 20, history of life. So once upon a time, 4.6 billion years ago, Earth was made. Dust and rocks came together. It started off with little to no oxygen, and the surface was molten rock, so all the water was in vapor form. The Earth cooled, and water pooled on the surface. So the hypothesis about all of these origins, proposed origins, are here. You have light-fueled atmospheric reactions, you have delivery from space via meteorites, and you have reactions at deep-sea hydrothermal vents. So all three hypotheses could have happened. So the first one is going to be lightning-fueled atmospheric reactions. This is when the reaction chamber with a mix that's they did a reaction chamber with a mix that stimulated Earth's early atmosphere. This is how they determined that this could be an origin of life. In this chamber, they zapped a mixture with sparks from electrodes, and they produced simple organic compounds and amino acids. So this is how they were able to back up this hypothesis. Then you have delivery from space via meteorites. Amino acids, sugars, and nucleotide bases were found in meteorites that fell to Earth. Organic monomers originated from interstellar clouds of ice, dust, and gas. So you have these meteorites that picked up all these organic molecules, and when they fell to Earth, they were able to transfer it to Earth, of course. So that's where they believe that these organic molecules came from, organic monomers, I should say. And then you have reactions at deep sea hydrothermal vents, where hydrothermal vents are places where mineral rich water is heated by geothermal energy. So amino acids form spontaneously in a stimulated vent environment. So these are your three: lightning, meteorites, and hydrothermal vents. Is probably the one thing you really got to remember. But those are your three hypotheses. So you have origin of metabolism. So organic polymers began to form on clay-rich tidal flats. These clay polymers, these clay particles have a slightly negative charge. Positively charged molecules stick to them. At a low tide, evaporation concentrates the subunits, and sunlight might have induced the formation of polymers. And amino acids can form short chains under stimulated tidal flat conditions. So, tidal flats is going to be one of those areas in which organic polymers have formed because of that difference in charge. And then you have iron sulfur world hypothesis, which is proposes that metabolic reactions took place in rocks around hydrothermal vents. This is also one of the more popular hypotheses versus the clay-rich tidal flats. You have porous rocks that act as chambers. The iron sulfide in these rocks donate electrons, and that dissolves the carbon monoxides, and therefore they form larger organic compounds. These compounds can be considered some like pyruvate that is formed from larger organic compounds. So, what's the origin of genetic material, however? So, you have DNA, that's the instructions to build proteins, and proteins aid in the synthesis of DNA, but how do we know what came first, right? So, we reason that we have the RNA world hypothesis. This serves a dual role. RNA functions as a genome and a catalyst, and it functions as enzymes called ribozymes that cut out introns and shift from RNA to DNA, maybe due to the stability of DNA. So they proposed that RNA was like the building block of everything because it was the first genome and the catalyst. And as evolution continued, it shifted from RNA to DNA because it was more stable. The origin of cell membranes. You have these protocells, which are the oldest, and they're membrane enclosed collection of interacting molecules that can take up material and replicate. They're considered the ancestor of cellular life, as I've said, the oldest. So they've made synthetic protocells. They can grow by taking up and incorporating fatty acids and nucleotides. So David Deemer, he experimented protocell formation near active volcanoes. So that's one of the ways in which we can trace back the origin of cell membranes. The overall evolution of cells is going to go from inorganic molecules, like from the meteorites or the hydrothermal vents or the lightning, from organic to organic molecules, actually, which is assembled in the aquatic environments, whether they're those clay tidal flats or the hydrothermal vents. Then they turn into organic polymers. Uh, and this is from the first genome, like RNA, like the RNA hypothesis. Then you have protocells, which is an ancestral cell, and then DNA-based cells. So all of it comes in one linear form from inorganic, organic, organic polymers, protocells in the RNA world, and DNA-based cells. So how did we get prokaryotes? Prokaryotes are our ancestors. So modern species descended from common single-celled ancestor, which is prokaryotes. Those are known today as bacteria and archaea. You have stromatolites, which are fossils, dome-shaped structures composed of layers of prokaryotic cells and sediments in shallow areas. The bacteria use photosynthesis. Some produced oxygen and some didn't. Oxygen began to accumulate. Aerobic respiration, which is what happens in our bodies often, is evolved. We have ozone layer formed and it accumulates as the ozone layer on the upper atmosphere. So everybody knows that the ozone layer helps protect us from the harsh UV rays of the sun, so it's not as intense. But because we have issues with climate change, global warming, we have some issues with the ozone layer. But we know that the ozone layer, its primary function is to protect the Earth's surface from the sun's UV rays. What are the origins of eukaryotes now? So we have prokaryotes, and then we become eukaryotes. So eukaryotes, by contrast, they have a nucleus, and of course, membrane-bound organelles, endomembrane system, of course. Membranes increase surface area. They have more space-sold proteins, and they protect things. So the endosymbiont hypothesis proposes that the mitochondria and the chloroplast have their own DNA, right? And they are descendants from bacteria that entered and lived inside a host cell. So mitochondria and chloroplasts resemble DNA because they have their resemble bacteria because they have their own DNA, yeah, and they replicate independently. So endosymbiont can be passed to a cell's descendant. So when it replicates itself, these endosymbionts can be passed. So yeah, name one eukaryote and provide a brief description. So origin of eukaryotes. And this is another photograph showing the origin. You have the ancestral prokaryote. You have the formation of the nucleus. You have it engulfing the cyanobacterium. And these are going to be considered our future membrane-bound organelles. This could be mitochondria, and this one could be chloroplast, depending on how and which cell it's in. And then this is your ancestral eukaryote. So you have human evolution. So these are primates. Primates are placental animals with grasping hands. So we have opposable thumbs and everything, primates. So examples are going to be humans, monkeys, and apes, and these are anthropoids. Anthropoids. Anthropods, I think. What? Okay, anyways, they're human-like. Yeah, okay. So human evolution, we start with hominins. Hominins are humans and extinct human-like species. So we're all hominids. So our characteristic is going to be bipedalism, which means that we can walk upright. So we use 2 feet, like on a bike. Anyways, so early hominins and modern hominins, Australopiths. Australopiths are the first ones. They're going to be chimpanzee size. They lived in Africa. They have smaller teeth and little increase in brain size. And the example is going to be Lucy right here. Oh, wait, it's going to be this one. Yeah, smaller brain size. Australopithecus right here. Human lineage right here. This one. Homo habilis is going to be the earliest named human species, the handyman, and they have Australopith-like body proportion and brain size, but their hands and arms are similar to modern human beings. So we have similar hands and arms. Now we continue on with the lineage. We have Homo erectus, first ones to stand. They're taller. The human species that dispersed out of Africa, they have a larger brain size, and the first hominid, of course, to venture out of Africa. Homo neanderthalis Our large brain, they hunted, they made tools, they interbred with Homo sapiens to give rise to the modern day human being. So, Homo neanderthalis interbred with Homo sapiens, and now we have humans as we know ourselves to be today. Of course, we get to Homo sapiens and their larger brain. They don't have the heavy ridges that all the other predecessors did, but we are more slender and expanded beyond Africa, of course, and gradually spread throughout the world. So now we have inhabited the whole Earth as far as we know. So, how do continents move? We move from human beings and animals and into the Earth itself. So, we propose that plate tectonic theory states that Earth's outermost layer of rock is cracked into plates that slowly move and the slow movement conveys continents new locations over geological time. So, you have the fault. So, this is the way that tectonic plates can shift. But this is a better way of showing it. So, you have like an earthquake would happen. This is the shifting of those plates. They slowly go down into the earth. They get recycled back into the earth and then they come back up. So it's like a cycle, conveyor belts. So moving plates to new locations over geological time. So the drifting continents is going to be our last slide. So we know that we have Gondwana. It's going to be the lower one right here in Laurasia. But Gondwana is considered a supercontinent. It was in the southern hemisphere. Pangea is the overall supercontinent. It's going to be a little bit more recent, approximately 300 million years ago versus Gondwana's 600 million. And the drifting continents and catastrophic events may have caused mass extinctions. So we have stuff like ice ages and volcanic activity, climate changes, all this other stuff makes the Earth split and the plates separate from each other over time. And now we have the world as we know it today. So that is going to be the history of life on Earth and concerns to how Earth was formed, how cells were formed, origin of these cells, origin of how they developed into the cells we know them to be today in our body, and also in bacteria archaea. We have primates, human evolution, we have the drifting of continents and tectonic plates. And finally, we have how Earth was separated into the continents we know today.